A pivotal ruling in the double murder trial of former attorney Alex Murdaugh.
Proof of it is essential to complete the story.
Judge Clifton Newman making the highly anticipated decision that the jury can hear evidence of Murdaugh's alleged financial crimes.
I find that it is so intimately connected with and explanatory of the crime charged under the theory of the state.
Prosecutors arguing Murdaugh killed his wife Maggie and son Paul in an attempt to gain sympathy and distract from his suspected financial misdeeds. The defense saying
they've got, a whole lot more evidence about financial misconduct than they have about a murder.
Murdaugh already facing dozens of separate charges related to financial crimes, including conspiracy, fraud, and theft of about $8.5 million.
He doesn't want me to have access to his accounts.
The jury heard from attorney Mark Tinsley, who represents the family of Mallory Beach. Beach was killed in a 2019 boating accident where Murdaugh's son Paul was charged with drunk driving in the incident. Tinsley says he brought a civil case naming Alex Murdaugh and attempted to gain access to his finances.
You had been told by the defense essentially that Alex had no money, correct?
He's broke. I knew that the only way that he could be broke is that money had been hidden.
A hearing on whether a judge would compel Murdaugh to turn over his accounts was scheduled to take place 3 days after the murders. Another key witness Monday, Shelley Smith, a caretaker for Murdaugh's mother. She says she saw Alex the night of the murders when he came to visit his mom, something she says he did rarely at night. An emotional Smith also recalling 3 days after the murders. He returned and made a point of telling her how long he had been at the house the night of the murders.
He said, someone asked you, I've been 30 to 40 minutes. That's what he said.
Smith also said on the stand that conversation made her extremely nervous because she recalls Murdaugh only being there about 20 minutes that night. The jury will come back in this morning and start to hear that financial evidence for the first time. Craig?
Catie Beck for us there in South Carolina. Catie, thank you.
Let's dig into the trial a little bit more with NBC's senior legal correspondent, Laura Jarrett. Laura, good morning. Some of this testimony was riveting and perhaps damaging to the defendant here, but this legal issue that's now been resolved where the judge has said, yes, some evidence of prior financial crimes can come into the trial and be heard by the jury. How big is that?
So at first glance, I think this ruling seems pretty problematic for the defense. Obviously, they want to do everything they can to keep it out. They did not win that. But I don't actually think it's fatal to the defense. And here's why. The prosecution actually needs to be really disciplined and tailored with how they introduce this, or else you risk the jury getting bored or confused or trying to figure out why are we talking about all these financial misdeeds in a murder trial. So I think they need to figure out a way to introduce it in carefully. I also think the defense can just simply appeal to common sense, something along the lines of, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, does it really make sense that this lawyer, this loving father who had no history of domestic violence, would go on to commit such grisly crimes because he wanted to distract from his financial misdeeds and his financial woes? That just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So I think you're gonna see this play out in closing arguments a lot, but they need to make it very tailored.
That witness, Shelley Smith, who took the stand, the caregiver who said that Alex Murdaugh basically said, hey, by the way, remember, I was here for this amount of time, when she said he was actually there for a shorter amount of time. And I think there was even some testimony that he sort of inferred that he was going to pay for a wedding.
Yes.
How crucial was her testimony?
Pay for a wedding, something they had never talked about before. She was so disturbed by the conversation, she goes on to call her brother in law enforcement because she's so shaken. And you can see yesterday, she's crying. She's visibly saying, this was a good family. Essentially, I wish I wasn't in this position, but she's providing critical testimony because essentially the jury heard that he was trying to manufacture an alibi if they believe her, and she has every reason to seem pretty credible.
Laura, let's talk about the jury for a second. As Catie pointed out, they're coming back in today. You've had some pretty interesting observations about the manner in which the evidence is being presented to the jury. What do you make of it?
It feels confusing. It feels disjointed. There's no clear chronological timeline. And so it seems like at some point soon, we're now on week 3, at some point soon they have to bring this home and make it all make sense for them. Because right now they're hearing everything from financial issues, Bank of America, to also a balloon raincoat. They have to make it make sense.
Got to connect the dots.
Exactly.
Laura, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.